cringed and walked over to said couch, which at the moment was covered by a mound of bridal magazines that collectively weighed more than the couch itself. "Hey, I think it's bad luck to talk about this stuff while in a wedding dress," I said, sifting through the pile. "I'm pretty sure I read that in a magazine somewhere." Ignoring me completely, Andy turned back to McKenna. "Remember that guy who showed up for their second date in a pair of sweatpants?" she said. McKenna nearly spat out her wine. "Sweatpants guy! He was a classic. Or what about that time she was getting the calluses on her feet scrubbed off at the mani-pedi place down on Chestnut Street, and the guy she was going out with that night walked by with 3 of his friends?" "Ah, yes, the huge, haughty Nate Miller," I said, wincing. "That was the day of our first date. It was the day of our last date, too. Shocking." Andy was tearing up now. "I think my favorite Waverly moment might have been when that guy she met at an Oktoberfest party got her contact information, but never asked her out, then put her on a mass email to his closest friends asking to borrow $1,500 for an LSAT class." McKenna nodded and laughed. "Oh my God, I'd forgotten about LSAT guy. So excellent. I think my favorite Waverly moment was that time she put on too much self-tanner for that guy Mike's company holiday party, then tried to act like she was naturally that tan in the middle of December." "Oh God, please don't ever mention that again," I said, closing my eyes and briefly reliving the unfortunate Oompa Loompa imitation. "Oh, we will, my dear," Andy said. "We definitely will." As they regaled themselves with some of my legendary dating mishaps, I turned away to look back at the mirror, then became lost in my own thoughts. It was late on a Saturday afternoon in November, a little over a year since I'd met Aaron at a black tie fundraiser for the San Francisco hospital where McKenna's boyfriend had just started his residency. Aaron was a partner at a major law firm downtown, following in the footsteps of his parents, who were both big-time corporate attorneys. When I first met him, I didn't think much of it because, well, why would I? He was rich, smart, good-looking, and several years older than I was. He owned a 2-story Victorian up on Nob Hill and a brand-new cabin in Lake Tahoe. I didn't even have a parking spot. He'd grown up in the affluent hills of Tiburon, just north of San Francisco, and his parents were regular fixtures at the opera. I'd grown up in a middle-class neighborhood near Sacramento, but my dad was currently living in what I called the Valley Pines Garden Community, although most people would call it the Valley Pines Trailer Park. Aaron was one of San Francisco's most eligible bachelors. I was standing next to him at the buffet table. We knocked elbows while reaching for the jumbo shrimp, or, better said, in a Waverly moment, I knocked into him while reaching for the jumbo shrimp and spilled cocktail sauce all over his arm. I apologized, and before I knew it, we were talking. My proclivity for senseless chatter went into hyperdrive, like it tends to do when I get nervous, but he was funny, and he was nice, and I really enjoyed talking to him. To be honest, I was waiting for the "it was nice to meet you" as he headed back to the supermodel with a PhD who I assumed was waiting for him. But he wasn't there with a date. He was there talking to me. When he asked me for my phone number, I nearly choked. Our first date was a casual drink at a tiny wine bar in North Beach. Our second was a walk along the ocean followed by a late lunch at the Cliff House. Our third was a romantic dinner at Aqua, and after that, there was no looking back. Within 2 weeks, we were a real couple. 7 months later, at the top of Coit Tower, he asked me to marry him. It seemed a bit fast, but it was all so exciting and romantic. I jumped into his arms and said yes. I couldn't believe it. Aaron Vaughn III wanted me, Waverly Bryson I, and he was going to sign legal documents to prove it.